recordings with you, so that you have both recordings. So I will load it again onto WhatsApp or onto my YouTube channel tonight. Then I'll share the link on the WhatsApp group of both recordings and also both presentations. And then you guys will also receive later on a message on the Teams chat that my UNISA have also have downloaded it. I will share my channel on the WhatsApp. Yeah, I don't want to share it on the UNISA platform, just doesn't feel right, but I will share it with you guys on my WhatsApp group so that you guys can get access to it. There's also previous year's recordings as well. So last semester recording, all the recordings are on there, last year's recordings as well. So I will definitely share that tonight with you guys as well. Okay, let's get into the financial maths component. Very important with a financial maths component is also that you guys have a calculator, or if you have access to Excel, that's also great. So one of the two is normally just makes it easier. Not so much in the assignments, but more for the exams, because the time in the exam is quite quick. So you are allowed by all means to just use the formulas. That's why I will supply you with the formula page. You don't need to worry. I will share with you the formula page that you have all the formulas, because again, I know not everybody have the luxury to have the mathematical calculators, but also if you have then access to a work laptop, if you have access to a laptop that has Excel on it, you are allowed to use Excel. Okay, so you are allowed to use Excel in the exam. So just be there's no issue with that. And it's still some time till the exam. So you're allowed to use your study notes, you're allowed to use formula pages, you're allowed to use Excel, you're allowed to use calculators. The only thing that you're not allowed to do is basically to be in communication with someone via WhatsApp or SMS or anything like that, or basically be sitting with someone else. So that else you are allowed to use any tools. Okay, so the things that we will try to cover tonight and see how far we get, we're going to look at simple interest. Simple interest, actually, your financial calculator can't do it, because your financial calculator is programmed only to do compound interest. So simple interest, simple discount, we will in any case need to use the formula and then work it out with a formula. Then we can look at compound interest, the time value of money, and I don't think we'll get to annuities amortization tonight, but then we'll cover it. See, that is sometimes the problem with the cell phone that it might be flagged when you use that for calculations. Um, it is unfortunately one of those things that it might be flagged. Um, so what I would nearly do if you have if you're working from a laptop and you use your cell phone for calculations, um, I would nearly keep that cell phone flat on the table, and then it looks like you're actually using it as a calculator. It becomes very difficult for yourself as well when you're writing exam on the cell phone and doing calculations on the cell phone. It just becomes very tricky. But if you can manage that, that is also fine. So it is, but what they might do is flag you, but that doesn't mean a flagging will fail you. So it might then just be that they can see you are actually working it out for calculation. So again, it's if you look at the camera on your laptop, you it seems like you're working on a calculator, then it will be fine. So if your calculator is downloaded on your cell phone, um, use it when as a calculator, because I know I'm using, I still got old school with my HP, because that is how it used to be. But now if I want to get access to the Casio or the shop, I download the app. And that is just the reality of it. So, but use it very nearly as not being the whole time on your cell phone, that it looks like you're doing other stuff. So I think that is the most important thing when you're doing the calculations via your cell phone. Okay, so simple interest. And it might be that you even beforehand sent a email to the lecturer that you are thinking of using the phone for calculations. So if they flag you, then there is at least something that says, but you have let the lecturer know you want to use it as your for calculations. So that then it is not that you using it for something else. Okay, simple interest. So simple interest is not really like simple discount, something that we really are using anymore. So when you invest money, you will get interest on the interest. So you will always nearly get interest on interest. So very, very seldom that in industry you will use simple interest. Um, so the things that I want to show you, yes, we're going to work through a simple interest question, but what they love to do with all of these interest questions, so from simple, compound, some of the other ones, they sometimes want you to manipulate the formula to write it in another expression. So what they, and let's, we are going to look at the simple interest, what it means, and then I want to just do a few manipulations of the formula. So again, Different study guides show different formulas for simple interest. When you Google simple interest, again, you might see different formulas. So the one that is in the study guide is we use A is equal to P1 plus RT, where that A is basically your amount that is at the end of a term. You will see sometimes we use S as well to say that's the future value. Sometimes we actually say future value where the P is your present value or your principal. So if you want to work out that future value, that A, we will use this formula of the principal multiplied by 1 plus RT. What they sometimes do to confuse you is to say, but I only want to work out the simple interest. So I only want the simple interest component, not the future value, just the simple interest, where you then just use the principal times the interest rate times the t. And again, sometimes they use different formulas and different variables for the different things. So sometimes the principle stays very consistent as P across the board, but sometimes they use R for interest rate, sometimes they use I. So, and the only thing different is the I is for interest and for R was for rate. But interchangeably, they or in different study um, books. So BNU versus QMI versus DSC, they use different formulas in this different study guides. We might sometimes be confusing, but they're actually referencing the same thing. The same with your, if you're gonna Google simple interest and you Googling on YouTube, they might show you just the one formula versus the other one, but it is always referencing the same thing. Okay, so what I want to show you guys just quickly is sometimes this is the simple interest formula or to work out the future value. Sometimes they ask you to write it in terms of R, and sometimes they ask it to write in terms of T. Okay, so we need to do a bit of manipulation around that. So let's just first write it out, and then we start simplifying like we would have a normal formula. So nearly forget when they get to these manipulations, forget that we're looking at financial maths and look at this as say, oh, but we're doing equation. I know how to do equations. So if I want to get to the R or the T, the first thing I need to get rid of is this thing in front of a bracket. So I will divide everywhere by P. So if I divide by P on the left-hand side, I now have A over P. On the right-hand side, the P would have now disappeared because, and let's just show it. If I have this, the P's will cancel out. So I actually sitting now with A over P is equal to 1 plus RT. And then, yes, I need to get to that R or T, so I need to get rid of that 1. How to get rid of the 1? I minus on both sides with 1. So A over P minus 1 is equal to RT. Okay, so now depending on if I want R, it is A divided by P minus 1 divided by T. And if I wanted T, it is A over P minus 1 divided by R. Okay, so that is just how we can be asked to manipulate the equation. And I think I just wanted to show it to you guys because they love to do this, and I don't know if it's always in the study guides and things like that, but just wanted to flag and show you guys how to do it. We will do exactly the same when we get to compound interest. I want to show you how to manipulate as well. It is just, I've just seen so many times that they will not ask you to do the steps. So remember, it is always multiple choice, but they can have this as the original and then give you 4 options of formulas that they have changed. So again, nowhere do you need to show you how it worked, how you got to it. You just need to get to the answer. That is also sometimes to your detriment. So if it counts 2 marks, in the olden days, it would have been that at least you might have gotten a point or something like that. With multiple choice now, it's full marks or no marks, which is a bit sometimes heavy to look at that. Okay, so let's, sorry. Okay, let's look at the first question. It might be that the second one is very similar. Ooh, I just want. Oh, sorry about that. I think I've been speaking too long. Okay. At what simple interest rate? So if we look at this formula, so now we actually going to work out the interest rate. So let's copy that over. So that is actually what we're going to ask. That's what they ask us. At what simple interest rate will 7,000 Rand, so that is your principal, will 7,000 Rand be invested for a period of 9 months? So your time is 9 months. To accumulate to your future value or your amount of 7,630. Okay, so we if you get this in the assignment, in the exam, you have this now already as, remember, open book, you're allowed to use all of these presentations and notes. You already have the formula, so you don't need to go in the exam to now manipulate it. We have it, so we can just calculate that sum. So 7630 divided by 7,000, that is equal to 1,09 minus 1, and that divided by 9 divided by 12 is 0,75. Okay, so that will be the sum that we need to make. So 1.09 minus 1 is 0,09 divided by 0.75 is 0,12. So 0,12 to change it into a percentage times 100, which is equal to 12%. Okay, so I will share the presentation, because in the presentation, what I've done for you guys as well is the whole answer is also written out, so that you can follow step by step. The second question is exactly the same. So Michael needs 1,200 Rand urgently. Peter is prepared to lend him the money on condition that he pays him 1,295 for 4 months from now. So what simple interest rate? So again, you have the future amount, you have a present amount, you have a period, and then you need to work out the interest rate. So very similar, the two questions. So it is part of the solutions in the slide that you can look at it. Okay, so the important thing for me in both of these is also, when I look at these questions, I normally, and I hope they've taken there sometimes in your answers a none of the above sometimes as well. And very easily, I'm looking at this, I'm seeing numbers, and a lot of time I need to reread it 2 or 3 times because of the words. So sometimes I don't pick up the period automatically because it's not written as 9. So because it's words, one sometimes read over it and it does not nearly register automatically. These numbers register automatically, but sometimes the words, one needs to read it a few times before you actually see what is the period. The same with the second question. I automatically add those two, and when I looked at where's the other number before I got to the 4 months. And again, it's just how the brain works sometimes, that it's easy for me, it's much easier. I pick up the numbers, and I had to read it a few times before I got to a 4. And then the other thing that is important with these ones, just look at that definition of a period. So monthly, sometimes they put in quarterly, yearly, biannually. So just be careful around that period or that times per year that they mention, because that again might differ between questions, that you might have months in the first question and then suddenly half years or yearly or biannually or quarterly or daily or something like that in the next question. So just be on the lookout for those types of things in your questions. Okay, so I think for all of them, I've done where we need to calculate it out, the formula with all the work. So yeah, I will share in any case tonight, even if we don't finish everything, I will share. Okay, then the other thing with the simple interest that we have now is simple discount. And again, it's not, we don't really get a lot in the industry that we get simple discount. It might be that in a sense it might be around, if you look at lay-by terms and those things, but lay-by is more compound interest in any case, but it might be that in a sense one can look at lay-by as a simple discount if instead of you lay-by for 4 months, you paid off over 3 months. Then it might have been that you get a bit of a special rate to it. But simple discount is again not something that we really get nowadays in this industry anymore. So simple discount again is where we don't have a built-in function in the calculator. So when we look at simple whoa. Okay, so here is a formula that is missing on the simple discount. So let me just quickly add the simple discount formula. Let me quickly see where is that. That I just write it in for you guys. Don't know why that now is suddenly missing out of this notes. Probably I might have deleted it when I deleted a number or something like that. So let me quickly just get the formula for a simple discount. But again, that we have it. So this is to work out the simple discount amount. But if we need to work out the principal amount, it is S1 minus dt, where that is your discount rate and T is your term. So also just check if we need to then change it to S. Let's have the P as a top one. 1 minus dt. And if we need to change it, that S is the subject, over object, we will just divide on both sides by 1 minus dt. Okay, so that is the two formulas that we will most likely use for simple discount. So yeah, sorry about that. Don't know how that was not part of this. So this again is just if, like simple interest, we want to work out the amount of a discount, we use F, D, and T. But if we want to work out what is nearly the present value or face value versus the final amount, this is then the simple discount formulas for that. The simple discount will else work exactly like a simple interest question. So a simple discount will then say you are, and I will get a simple discount question so that we can look at it next week. So let me just also make a note that I get a simple discount question for you, but it will look very similar in the sense that you will get all the present and the future and the interest rate, which is now the discount rate, and you need to work out the time period. But like all the simple interest, you will get three things and you need to work out the fourth one. Okay, so I will come back to this next week, that we will add a question on simple discount. Okay, so then from simple interest, simple discount, we go into, let's be honest, the more regular thing that we deal with in our daily lives, compound interest. Compound interest is basically earning interest on interest, but also if you have a loan, it is paying off interest on interest. So it again goes both ways. If you invest something, it's interest on interest, but if you borrow money, there's always also interest on interest that you need to pay. So that is nearly the important thing about compound interest. The formula for compound interest is a slightly different. Again, there's the amount at the end, which is sometimes also S, which is also sometimes future value. So that very similar to simple discount or simple interest. For compound, your amount S, future value is the same. Again, your principal P or present value is also the same. Okay, so we use the same variables, the same signage. Then the only difference comes in within the bracket. So there is still the one that we had in the simple interest bracket as well, but then it becomes your interest rate divided by the number of times. That is if you have a number of times. So originally we can have the compound interest looking like this. If you basically are doing it yearly, a yearly interest when there's nothing that we divide by, there's nothing that we will multiply the term because it's yearly, so then it's straightforward. But the end comes in here when we suddenly now have a change in how they tell us the periods are. So if it is monthly, the n becomes 12. If it is, so that's monthly. If it is daily, the n becomes 365. And one can have a daily if it is, what's the other one that we love? Quarterly. So quarterly, the n is equal to 4. And then sometimes they throw in one that says half yearly, which sometimes is the same as biannual. So these things always confuse me, as English is definitely not my first language. So half yearly, biannual, twice a year is another one, which is all the same. Twice a year, which basically means that n is equal to 2. Okay, so another thing that they say to this is every 6 months. So there is some of these that can every 6 months, half yearly, biannual, twice a year, all the same, where n is equal to 2. And what I've seen also, and I will check if I can get a question like that as well, is sometimes they put 6 months and half yearly in the same question, that it does try to confuse you. So that's why I mentioning all of these things to you guys. So when you see it, remember, just John said, look out for this, because it is really one of those that, especially in the DSC environment, the stats environment, sometimes the wording catches you more out than the actual question. So yeah, so just be on the lookout for these things. So let's check out one question. We'll see if we can get to 2 questions, but that is, I think, if we cover one, that will be great. So that I have again included both of these questions for answers in, and then we are at annuity. So I think it will be a great stop for tonight to just round off compound interest. Then next week we can start looking at annuities. So next week we will definitely finish the rest of the study unit, and we will look at the next study unit, which is data collection. So next week we'll do the rest of chapter 4 plus chapter 5. Okay, so let's look at annuity, compound interest. Let's look at that first question. So, and let's just for now copy that as original. So S is P1 plus R to the power of T. An amount of 1,000 has accumulated to 1,500. So we know amount of 1,000 has accumulated to 1,500 after 2.5 years. So again, 2.5 years. So we've got T as 2.5. Calculate the interest rate per year if interest is compounded monthly. Okay, so they want you to work out R if R is calculated monthly. So that we also need to multiply by 12. Okay, so I'm using the formula for this. So I'm gonna show you how we're gonna get it with a formula, and then I will quickly also just write down a few steps on the financial calculator. So first, let's use the formula. So I need to get rid of 1,000. So I will divide on both sides with 1,000. So on this side, what's left is that to the power of, let's just see what is 2.5 times 12 is to the power of 50. Okay, so to get rid of the 50, I can on both sides basically take the this not the square root, the root of 50. I don't think any calculators allow that. So there is another way that we can get rid of that by doing ln and those kind of things. So let's first just write that down as is. So now you can see I need to do some intervention with that 50. Okay, so while we try that, you can see here is a way of working it out. Let me quickly show you how I would have done it on a calculator. So your financial calculator, it's built in. So you have the present value that is equal to minus 1,000. So you can say minus 1,000 present value. You can say your future value is 1,500. Then we don't know the interest rate, so we're gonna work out the interest rate, so we don't know that. We know they tell us it is monthly, so periods per year is 12. So 12 times per year. It is happening for 2.5 years. So how many times does it happen? It happens 50 times. So then if I work out what my interest rate is, I hope it's correct, 16,329 or 33%. Let's just quickly check. There's 16,33. So again, you can decide on how you gonna do it. Here again, so that is up until where we got. And then we need to basically 1/50 exponent is the same as the root of 50, but again, my HP don't have that as an option, where a lot of you guys have this as an option. So let me quickly just copy that one piece over to this, so that, and it just that last component, which again, most calculators have that function to say something to the power of a fraction. Where, again, unfortunately, my calculator is not like that. So I would basically use the built-in formula of a calculator. And then I would have needed to first work out on my side what is 1 divided by 50. Then I can say 1.5 to the power of that. So my calculator is a bit slow in getting to this. Okay, but yeah, you could see we basically did exactly the same. So there's for 1.5, which is that component. So the 1,500 equal to 1,000. There we have that sorted out. So from there, we just needed to get rid of that, which is on this side, 1/50. Then we will get rid of a 1 by saying -1 on both sides. Then we would have needed to work it out and then divide by 12 to get us the 0.1633. Okay, so that was a quick look at simple interest, discount interest, and compound interest. I am going to share both recordings, both presentations with you. And then next week, we will finish up this presentation. So study unit 4 on